When you're drafting in professional games, it's obviously very different from matchmaking for a lot of different reasons. One of them is that both teams have a clear plan about what they want to do. It means that there's one person basically have an entire idea about all 5 heroes of both teams. It's not 5 different players playing 5 heroes that they want to play. So just because of that, and because of the fact that there's bans setting up for the draft, means that it's a completely different different thing than solo queue. Most of the time, you can see different ways of drafting. Players or captains will do bans according to what they plan on picking in the first phase. Some captains will do the same thing in the second phase, where they will ban heroes that are good against the heroes that they're going to pick later. Some captains will ban heroes that are good against what they already have. In this replay that I'm going to show you, which is a VP against Nigma in the recent tournament that was called Mad Moon, 2 teams that are very experienced, solo against Kuroki. Both drafters are very known, won a lot of tournaments, are like incredibly respected for their drafting. The way you ban in most cases of competitive games is that there's some heroes that are in general just too strong that you don't want to give away if the other team has first pick. And in this game, an example of that is the Nyx Assassin. You can see Nigma, they have second pick this game, and they chose to ban Nyx Assassin. There's a couple of different reasons. In this specific meta, it's because Nyx Assassin is just a very good hero. It's also a hero that has the effect that it disables a lot of heroes on the other team. Just because he's a hero that works really well against intelligence heroes. He's a hero that's really hard to draft against. He basically takes out a third of the heroes that you might want to pick. So that's one reason to ban it out. And the second hero is Slardar, which in this patch is also really strong. So they didn't really want to give that away. If you look at VP's bans, they have first pick, which means they can kind of ban for the hero that they want to pick in the first phase. So they ended up starting with Earthshaker, which is not really considered a strong support right now. It's a very solid hero. It enables you to pick a lot of different offlaners because he has a way of fissure blocking the creeps, which means that basically every offlaner with Earthshaker will get something. So their bans are Bad Rider and AA. These bans are probably setting up for something. These are very specific bans that you probably wouldn't ban unless you have a plan, because they counter some specific heroes. A is very good against heroes that have healing, and Bat is like a very strong laner and kills heroes that are tanky that other heroes normally can't kill. It's very obvious for Nigma that these guys want to pick some hero that is similar to Timbersaw. Most pro players, most drafters would probably say that they want Timbersaw because Bad Rider is kind of the only lane counter to Timbersaw, and A is one of the game counters. So that is a hero that 2 of these heroes that VP banned out is countered by. If you pick a core early, it leaves the other team 5 heroes to counter with. So what happens here is Nigma end up taking the Timbersaw and Snapfire, which is considered a really strong support. So this is a very classic solid opener from Nigma because they pick their position 5, which is basically the same idea as when you play solo queue. You want to pick your position 5 as early as possible because it's your support. And then they pick Timbersaw, which is a hero that can go to multiple lanes. It can basically go to any lane as a core. So he's what you would call an open core. They also take it away from VP, who banned 2 of the counters to this hero. So I think the reason why VP didn't decide to first pick this Timbersaw is what will happen here is that they picked Leshrac. So obviously VP have an idea that Leshrac is good against Timbersaw. They think that this hero is in addition to Bad Rider and A, they think Leshrac is a hero that can make sure that Timbersaw doesn't have a game. So that's the reason for this entire first phase. VP, they probably wanted to pick Earthshaker into Timbersaw, but they were ready for Nigma to take in the Timbersaw because they had a response to it. So that was the first phase. So both teams, and this is like basically how you lay out the draft. You start up with 2 heroes, both teams. This is how the draft kind of, after this, most heroes they kind of pick themselves, or you have like a limited amount of options because this is already set the tone of your draft. So next is the bans for both teams, the second phase bans. So you see VP here in the second phase, they ban Lifestealer and Clock, which is 2 heroes that are good against both Earthshaker and Leshrac. So it's very straightforward from VP. This is like the traditional second phase bans. You pick 2 heroes in the first phase. They picked Leshrac as the last hero in the first phase, which means Nigma didn't have any counters. So they banned 2 heroes which they think are really good against Leshrac. It's like the normal classic way of drafting. And then you look at Nigma, they banned Oracle and Anti-Mage. So this is a little bit basically like the other option you have in second phase, is that you ban heroes according to what you want to pick in the second phase. So here they banned Oracle, and from VP's point of view, it might be weird that they ban Oracle because there's no real purpose of it. Like it doesn't look good for VP's draft. It's not really good against what Nigma have. But then they pick ET, and all of a sudden this Oracle ban makes sense because Oracle is one of the heroes that can purge ET, which means he loses some of his laning aspects. Also, I think to mention is that Nigma is second pick in this game, which means they have 2 picks in this phase where they have to show their hero before VP. So they have 2 counters basically. VP have 2 counters to what Nigma is going to show. So Nigma know they're going to pick their position 4, and VP is going to have a counter to it. So they pick the position 5 counter they think is the best against ET, which is Oracle. So that makes a lot of sense. What happens is VP, they just pick a strong position 5. I don't think they think of Bane as a counter to any of these heroes, but Bane is the type of position 5 that can kind of fight any hero. So they decide to go for Bane. I think there's not a lot of thought process in it. They just kind of needed a position 5. And Nigma end up picking Medusa. And I think for Nigma, because they're second pick, it's very important to have a hero that can go both mid and safe lane on this pick. Because if you pick a hero that can only go mid or that can only go safe lane, VP they have 2 options still. They can still put Leshrac mid and they can put Leshrac off lane. So if you pick a safe laner here that VP knows is a safe laner, it gives them a free counter pick to it. So they end up picking Medusa, which can be both mid and safe lane, and this hero lanes well against Leshrac. So the good thing for Nigma here is that they pick a core that can go both mid and safe lane, which is also a good matchup against Leshrac, who's already shown. So they got a really good hero here for them because it counters basically VP's hero on both lanes. So the whole point of having Leshrac for VP was that this hero can go 2 lanes. But Nigma just kind of countered it by picking this Medusa, which can do the same and is good against him in both lanes. And they banned Anti-Mage in the second phase, which is also a hero that is good against Medusa. So VP pick up Slark, which most people consider a good hero against Medusa. Some people don't, but VP they probably do. And Nigma they ban SF. So Nigma think that this Leshrac is going to be going off lane because they pick Medusa, and now they banned SF. So they think this hero is going to be going off lane. And what happens is, so VP have to pick a hero here. They don't really know. I mean, you can make some guesses that this Medusa is going to be going safe lane because of the team they're playing against. They're playing against Nigma, and most of the time they're going to be playing with Miracle on the game winner. So I don't know if this is something that VP didn't think about. So I think in this case, VP ended up taking the wrong decision. They ended up picking Omni Knight despite having Leshrac. I think they wanted to pick a hero that was good for the game. Omni Knight Slark is a strong combo. I think maybe they didn't think that they could pressure this Medusa on lane. They just wanted to put this Leshrac against whatever they pick mid. I think it might not have been a bad idea, but what happens is Nigma picks a hero here that is good against basically all 3 cores of VP. They end up picking Razor. And the problem for VP here is they don't really have a hero that can lane against Razor. Razor can kind of go against Omni Knight, he can go against Slark, he's good against Leshrac on lane. So Nigma ended up with a draft where they have core counters. Like they have Timbersaw, they have Razor, and they have Medusa. They have really strong lanes. And VP ended up with a draft where they have really good mid-game fights, but it's going to be hard for them to get there. In terms of winning this draft, I think I would be very happy having Nigma's draft, just because they have 2 supports that give strong lanes, they give team fight, and they have 2 cores that can go both lanes. Medusa can go mid, Razor can go mid, they can both go safe lane, Timbersaw can basically go any lane, so they have a lot of laning options. They can basically do whatever they want. VP's lanes are a little bit less solid because they have Omni Knight, bad laner. Shaker is a very one-dimensional laner. So I think in terms of laning and in terms of team fight, Nigma has a better draft here, and they ended up winning this game as well. So I think it's obviously it's hard for me to say when I'm talking about Nigma, I'm talking about VP, which are basically teams that I'm competing against, which are teams that I have a lot of respect for. It's hard for me to say what can they improve in their draft because I'm sure they have ideas that I don't consider. I think if you want to look and take something from what these teams are doing in their drafts, it's to decide what is the point of your hero. So what they did in these games, especially with the position 4 from Nigma, is that they second phase banned Oracle when they wanted to pick ET. And this is something, so let's say you have ET in your hero pool and you're going into a solo queue game, you want to play ET, and you want to pick it early, right? Because sometimes you have to pick a hero early, you might not see the other heroes. And this is something you can do. You can go into the game, you can ban one hero, and you can ban Oracle, right? Sometimes it'll get banned, sometimes it won't. This is the thing about solo queue, but if it gets banned, it means you have a hero that you know is not going to be in the pool, and it's like a mini version of a professional draft, you know? You can do small things that makes it easy for you to pick your hero. So this is something you can take. Like some heroes, they will need more bans for them to pick early. Like if you want to pick Timbersaw, for example, you have to ban AA, you have to ban Bat, all these heroes. So this is probably not possible to pick early, right? In solo queue at least. So if you want to do this, you can think about when you play your hero pool, if there's one specific hero that is worse than everything else that you play against. So for Nigma, it was Oracle when they wanted ET, so they banned it. You can do the same in solo queue. If you play Earth Spirit, if you really don't want to play against Shadow Shaman because he can really mess up your laning, then you can try to ban Shadow Shaman. And if it gets banned, then nice, you have a free Earth Spirit game, if that's the only hero you worry about. So that's a small thing you can do.